That's not how you unclog the toilet.
But look at all the shit I got.
This is a fucking movie.
No, but see, it's a gag about how the movie is bad, like shit. Because it was in the toilet, like shit. Because it's a piece of shit made by Roger Corman. Get it?
Doesn't that imply Roger Corman took a shit at our house? That makes me uncomfortable.
So, you want to watch it or what?
How the fuck did you get this on Blu-ray?
But we need to review it for our fan.
We don't have a fan. We don't even have AC.
Sure we have a fan. Look.
Fine. For the fan.
Attack of the Crab Monsters was a 1957 horror film by legendary director Roger Corman. It stands as one of Corman's most successful movies, being made on a budget of $70,000 but making back over $1 million. He attributes this to the combination of humor and horror that up until this point was a mostly unexplored idea.
Shut up, dork. Nobody cares about film history. Let's just sack up and dive into this beast.
You're rather cartoonish, aren't you? Well, that was nightmarish.
Hey, Thom,
Yeah?
can you turn on the lights?
And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth.
Oh man, God's gonna be pissed. They didn't put his name in the credits.
After those two equally horrifying things, we get treated with the sight of a motorboat approaching an island.
This is the worst game of sardines ever.
Here we get the first look at our heroes. The cast primarily consists of chiseled slabs of frozen meat. We're all about one step away from just being chin clefts with legs. There are a few notable characters, by which I mean 3. There's Carl Weigen, this gentleman with the pungent face whose German accent sounds like it's filleting an egg beater, Jules Devereaux, who I assume is just Butterball before he became a Cenobite, and Female, who is female.
Dr. Carl Weigand is a nuclear physicist. He'll collect their findings and relate them to the present theories on the effects of too much radiation.
Gentlemen, I've recorded my findings on the current analysis of exposure to too much radiation, and have reached the conclusion that too much radiation is bad.
We can see only a small part of the island from this spot, but yet you can feel lack of welcome, lack of abiding life, huh?
It's like we dropped a nuclear bomb on it.
Maybe their bodies are gone, but who can tell of their souls, eh? Maybe if I call to them, they will answer. Their ghosts will answer.
That's some good science.
So one of the sailors falls overboard and is eaten by the crab. Oh jeez, he was scared stiff. It's almost like he's a mannequin.
Something in the air is wrong.
It's like we dropped a nuclear bomb on it.
Maybe it's because there's no sound.
It's like we dropped a nuclear bomb on it.
No animal noises of any kind.
It's like we dropped a nuclear bomb on it.
The heroes are all outside in single file lines progressing toward an unclear objective when explosions are heard and the earth begins to shake. This doesn't really seem to bother them, though.
And then God said, "Fuck this plane!"
Believe it or not, a crab did that.
They say a lot of shit in this scene, but to sum it up for you, they are fucked.
So naturally, that means it's story time.
Friday, March 12th. This afternoon, Professor Carter found a large piece of flesh having the same composition as that of the common earthworm, but measured 24 inches by 8. With this section as a measure, the worm-like creature would be more than 5 feet in length.
It was an Alaskan bullworm!
I find it funny the director put in reaction shots of characters not reacting. He could have filmed this during the lunch break for all we know.
The electrician here has the gall to try and think in this scene. Go back to your mother's basement and build a toaster or something and leave thinking to the real scientists. Like Jules.
McLean! Hello!
What about that 5-foot night crawler?
You know, guys, given you haven't even finished unpacking yet, and someone's already gotten their head ripped off, I think it's safe to assume that something on this island is not happy to see you.
What could have done this?
Okay, wait, can Oh, maybe. No, it's too easy, too easy. No way they'd pull that shit. Oh, no, wait. There we go. It's just cliche enough to work.
It was the crab.
We weren't laughing at you, Hank. It's just that McLean didn't really mean to imply that the flesh was from a big worm. He said from a worm-like creature.
Okay, so maybe it's not a worm, but there's no scenario where 192 square inches of indestructible flesh found on a radioactive island where an entire research team had disappeared is a good thing.
Quiet.
Nosferatu!
It's a pipe bomb!
Just the wind.
The wind.
Just the wind.
The wind.
Just the wind.
How the fuck?
Can't have a horror flick without fan service, but that implies this movie has fans.
It's Christmas Day!
Aw.
So, where are we at now?
Fuck.
Incidentally, do you know who directed these scenes?
That's what he gets. So Carson and Wygant yell for Dale and Martha to come meet them, but I like this scene because Carson and Wygant look like action figures. They show Dale and Martha this giant hole in the ground that sprung up out of nowhere.
Why, it's glazed as though it had been fired in a kiln.
Don't worry, it's still nice and chewy on the inside.
Summers, you and fellows better put a couple of your lanterns around this pit, so as to keep any of us from falling in the middle of the night.
Or alternatively, you guys could just not wander around in the middle of the night.
Martha hears the voice of one of the lost scientists calling to her in the middle of the night and goes to help him. But just listen to him.
Martha. Martha Hunter. Help me. Help me.
This is like if a monotone voice actor made fun of a monotone voice actor who was doing an impression of Stephen Hawking. On the way, Martha runs into Carson, who decides now is a perfect time to go spelunking. Probably because Wygand isn't around to tell him not to.
I want to go down there.
No.
Funny that the nuclear physicist is warning the geologist about cave-ins. But Wygand is kind of like Sam Neill's character in Event Horizon. He seems to have some idea of what's going on, but isn't explaining anything, and as a result comes across as really sinister.
Jim, you're not going down there.
Yes, I am.
But Carl's against it.
He's afraid of cave-ins. I'm not.
Just because you aren't afraid of the clear and present danger doesn't change the fact that there is a clear and present danger.
What I like is how there's not even a second where it seems like he might be okay. He just goes into the hole and dies. Brilliant.
He must have fallen during the quake.
I warned him. Carson, can you hear me? Are you alive?
Dr. Michael, my leg, it's broken.
But I'll try to stand up. Ah! Yes, they are broken.
We are coming for you. Don't try to move.
The bone has gone through the skin. I fear it might be gangrenous. The wound is beginning to smell a little like almond.
No, Jules, but we must go down to him. Not this way.
So we hear from the sailors that the island is collapsing.
Dear, what can it be?
I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Now stay here, Mommy.
Buff, you got the door. For God's sake, Buff! Don't come in, the man's a maniac!
It stopped.
I've managed to subdue the assailant. The panic's over.
Basically what happened just now was the crab broke in to do nefarious crab things, then left. And this guy seems about as worried with this development as a man living in the Canadian wilderness who wants a bit more maple syrup on his pancakes.
I'm not surprised.
I like how the crab goes from this to this. It's like he's embarrassed that they caught him the first time, and now he's throwing a temper tantrum.
That, or he realizes the scientists pose about as much threat as a bunch of socks armed with smaller socks, and he doesn't need to be subtle.
And he doesn't! They just stand there like, man, I didn't even know we had that much stuff to break.
And why the fuck does the crab roar?
Damn, Bumpus's crab monsters!
I get that it's big and its last name is Monster, but that doesn't mean it needs to sound like Nihilith doing a Godzilla impression.
You might as well go back through the cave.
No, up the rope.
Dr. Weigand, you are a great nuclear physicist, while I am a simple provincial botanist. But there are things I do not understand.
There are many things that I do not understand also, Jules. You had better climb.
Admit it, Jules, you just don't want to climb the rope.
Oh geez, never mind. Jules has the upper body strength of a fucking
Our
gorilla.
tent's just outside the cave. We don't have to go up the rope.
Up the rope.
Yeah, but why?
Up the rope.
Yeah, but why?
Up the rope.
I was afraid of.
Dude, the rope fell down.
Here's your motive.
Food.
Why didn't he eat one of them?
Whatever it was that did this deliberately destroyed the radio. It had to be deliberate. Every piece of wiring has been ripped out and chopped to bits. Look, every tube has been sliced neatly in half. And it had to reach way inside to do it without wrecking these cabinets.
At least he's a meticulous giant killer crab monster.
So we learn that the giant crab destroyed the radio, and the other scientists arrived to stand around and talk.
If there is a single cause.
Yes, the microscopy is working.
Now, let us again seek Dr. Carson. Yet still no sign of him.
No will be, eh, Carl?
And a blunt rock cuts right through his hand like a hot knife through bullshit.
Well, that was intense.
So the crab gets Jules, who somehow failed to notice this Brobdingnagian crustacean abomination bearing down upon him, and gets the shortest neck massage in history.
God damn it, Jules, where's your French pride? It's in your blood to run away from threats. Poor show, Jules.
Apparently the crab has no concept of vision, because he goes on trying to convince them that Jules is still asleep in bed, long after it's apparent that he's not asleep in bed.
Congratulations, Dr. Weiger.
Ah, yes. It turns out this whole time Jules was a candlestick!
It's long after dark.
You should have heard him by now.
We will hear. Be patient.
Good evening, mes amis. I am glad you are all still with us. Be not shocked that the weapon speaks.
It can't be true. You can't be a gun. You are my daughter's wedding.
Hearken to all things matter, for I may be in them.
Ew.
Something remarkable has happened to me.
I died!
So the disembodied voice of their dead crewmate tells them to go down into the caves under the island where they have evidence of someone disappearing without a single trace other than a puddle of blood.
It's for you.
I am not touching that.
Fine.
I have an idea of what he's going to say. It's not like it really matters, though.
They go into the cave and the crab attacks them, but I don't consider this a trap since that implies thought went into it. The crab seems so surprised by the fact they're actually dumb enough to come down here that he gives away his position without managing to kill a single one of them. He just dumps the guy's books and starts screaming. And even though the crab shouldn't roar, to this film's credit, the roar is really terrifying.
Hey, where do crabs wait for the train?
Where?
At the crustacean.
They manage to defeat the crab by knocking stalactites onto his head, which pierce his brain, killing him.
If a blade passes through it like a finger through mercury, then like a river of mercury, we should be able to sever a part of it by completely separating it from the rest of the body.
Okay, so in order to cut things off of other things, you need to cut them. Any questions?
All I can tell you now is that this is a male land crab.
Yep. First thing I think of when I look at that crab is, he's a male.
Well, that was easy. We even finished 20 minutes ahead of schedule and have a sample to take back to the lab and research and, you know, I feel like I'm forgetting something important, but what?
What's this?
Oh my god!
So our heroes scamper away like school children who are being chased by a giant ornery cyborg crocodile with bumblebees for a face that shoots exploding ninja Catholic priests out of its mustache made of Sherman tanks and runs on monster truck tires made of shark faces, and I've lost my train of thought at this point. What were we talking about?
This is why I don't let you do scene transitions. Anyway, the point is there are two crabs. The one they killed just now was the one who killed the original research team, while the one that chased them off was the one who killed the new research team.
Apparently we have one of those biological freaks.
Man, the genetic freak fairy was feeling generous. We could just be dealing with a rat with 3 balls. But no, we get a giant crab monster that eats dynamite. Okay, so they throw a bunch of science jargon at us, but let me sum it up for you. The crab can eat things to gain their powers.
It ate dynamite and can now cause cave-ins, and it ate the scientists and can now use their voices.
That's right, that crab is dynamite.
And most importantly of all, it ate Jules, meaning it now has the powers of a sweaty one-handed potato.
His minds have turned against us.
Preservation of the species. Once they were men, now they are land crabs.
Put that shit on a t-shirt.
I don't know if Corman realized this, but that's actually pretty Kafkaesque horror.
Imagine existing merely as static charges in the brain of some demented monster. I would be a bit disheartened by this development.
But no, they're fucking pumped, man. I'm surprised they haven't started producing Viva la Land Crabs memorabilia yet.
What's that? What's that?
I'll kill you! I'll kill all of you!
Wygan does seem to have a problem with sounding absurdly mad at all times.
No, I warned him. Carson, can you hear me? Are you alive? Up the rope, quickly. No, up the rope. There are many things that I do not understand also, Jules. You had better climb. Up the rope. What's that? What's that?
And with mispronouncing things.
Devereaux! Motor area. We will vary it. Oh, he's in permanent shape. He destroyed the leg in less than a second.
Actually, a lot of the heroes managed to look villainous at some point or another.
Let us catch him and find out.
And while we're naming recurring themes, land crabs are brought up even more than you'd expect.
That's just a practice pitching for those babies out there.
A few land crabs.
You know, Dale, it's funny, but
Land crabs and seagulls.
Nothing but land crabs.
This scene even has the heroes grind to a screeching halt as they get into a moral debate about killing land crabs. And according to their accounts, land crabs are basically a hybrid of piranhas and Margaret Thatcher.
It had to reach way inside to do it without wrecking these cabinets.
Kill it.
it's easier said than done, Hank.
Now wait, this needs some thought.
Doctor, you're not going to suggest that we save it for science. That would be suicide.
No, thank you, Martha. I have no ambition toward becoming a mad scientist. But I do think we ought to try and capture the thing. Would you not like to examine a live specimen?
Good conversation, huh?
What if we were to capture it for science?
Are you implying that we capture it for science?
No, I'm saying we should capture it for science!
So the scientists figure out that the crab is negatively charged and that positive energy will disintegrate him.
The electricity. Then, Hank, you must create a trap of positive energy.
Well, that was fast. While setting up the trap, this abstract depiction of a sock puppet hears the crab snoring like a rusty pickup truck being sawed in half by a knife made of frozen stroganoff, and plans to cut off more of it.
Behind that wall.
Look behind that wall over there. It is sleeping, so be quiet. Oh my god, it is waking up. Whatever you do, do not call attention to yourself or it might notice you.
The crab wakes up and realizes that a caricature is trying to carve chunks off of him, and would prefer for this not to happen, so he chases them off without falling into the trap.
There's another boring underwater scene where the crab is pursuing them, but it has about as much chance of catching them as I have of catching herpes.
A bit of a missed opportunity, seeing as how an underwater death scene might be sort of interesting. Never mind. These two head out and investigate to see how much more of the island is left standing and hear more explosions, so decide to go check it out. I suppose because this movie only has 10 minutes left and the meat wagon that serves as our main cast is still aggravatingly high on meat.
I suggest we trace them.
You want to follow this oil underground?
I feel we must.
I love these guys. The island is collapsing around them and they're just like,
look, oil! Side quest time!
The crab is like a rattlesnake. It can be heard long before it can be seen. I believe we can keep out of its way if we only remain alert.
Yeah, that crab sticks out like a sore thumb. Can't sneak up on anyone. Right, Jules? Anyway, Wygand dies, obviously. And ironically. So they run off and make one final SOS while the crab ridicules them through the telegraph. Then he sinks more of the island, leaving only a scrap on which to stand.
The crab shows up for the final showdown, and they throw a few grenades because they literally have nothing better to do. This doesn't work, so Hank is forced to sacrifice himself to kill the crab. The end.
So Thug, any closing thoughts?
I went the entire review without making a giant enemy crab joke.
Good job.
Well, I'm gonna go catch farts in a jar.
Wait, your own farts this time!